one and all present over here. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you all for today's session, that is communication skills. I'm sure that this session will be beneficial for all of us. For today's session, allow me to introduce our speaker, Ms. Kaumudi Nair, an experienced and trained academician. She has taught and facilitated students of diverse groups and ages in India and UAE. She has headed the primary and secondary section at Vibgyor High School, Borivali. Currently, she is working with Ministry of Education in Abu Dhabi as science lead of the department and trainer. It's a proud moment for Rahul College of Education also that she is the alumni of this college batch 2015 and 17. I welcome Miss Kaumudi ma'am. I hand over the session to her. Kaumudi ma'am, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alka Jain, and thank you very much, Rahul College, to give me this opportunity to interact, and especially Ms. IC Principal, Ms. Sanjana Mishra, who has been a constant, person who is still in touch with everybody, and she does make an effort to make sure to ask about, make sure that we connect with each other so efficiently. So thank you, Ms. Sanjana, for giving this opportunity, and also the entire management of Rahul College to give me this opportunity to interact and share some of my expertise with all of you. So to begin with, let's, if you can see my screen, is it visible? Okay, so let's go here. I'm just going on to the presentation mode. Okay. So let's look at what are our training objectives, and what are, like, at the end of the session, what I would expect all of you to gain from this. So by the end, we will be identifying some effective communication techniques and how to overcome communication challenges. We will analyze the difference between listening and what is active listening, recognize the importance of non-verbal communication, and at the end, share our ideas, experiences about how to communicate confidently and empathetically. So I hope this is clear, and I want to keep it as an interactive session. So I can see about, like, there are around 40 to 50 participants here. So I would request that all of you to please participate. And if you have any questions, or if you want to go ahead with your sharing of experience, please just raise your hand and I can go ahead with that. All right. Okay, so first thing, like, as I said, I want to keep it as interactive as possible. So this is a QR code. So I'll request you to kindly scan this QR code. And there is a question which will appear on the screen. And I would request, like, all of you to kindly participate, and let's gather some of, like, before I start, I want to know, like, what are your ideas about what is communication? So I hope you are able to scan this code. If you want, I'll just put the link in the chat. You can see the link in the chat now. I'm waiting for responses. So still, if you have not scanned the code, you can scan it. Either you can scan the code using your camera or your QR code scanner from your mobile, or you can, the link is in the chat. You can use the link. Yes, I can see there are responses coming up. And that's great, but I would like more participation. Yes. All right, that's fabulous. So you can see the like the responses, and yes, communication is express your feeling through words and sound. Yes, communication is a way to express ourselves. It is sharing of thoughts or information in a verbal manner, passing our thoughts and ideas to someone else, and exchanging of information, exchange of ideas. Fair enough. The act of sharing or exchanging information and ideas. Fair enough. All right, we'll just wait for 2 minutes more and check if we can get some more, like insights about communication. Sounds fantastic. That's a interesting one, where you're connecting the feelings as well with the words. All right, 1 more minute and I'll refresh so that we can get few more. All right, so the last, this comment would I would like to highlight this. Communication is an ongoing process that mainly involves 3 components, namely sender, message, and recipient. There are 2 types of communication, verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Fantastic, quite an insight about communication skills. That's really nice. So thank you, dear participants, and this I'm keeping this open. Meanwhile, if you want to add anything, you can. So let's go back to our presentation now. So yes, if you see here, what is communication? I have just break down it so that for pronunciation purposes. It is a process in which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols or signs or behavior. Now, like I would I understand you will like most of us relate communication only with what we speak. But to be honest, it has a lot of things into it with our symbols, the gestures, the behavior part of it. So without these are some of the important components that play a very, very important role when we talk about communication. So let's move to effective communication. Now, what do you mean by effective communication? Like we understood communication is to convey, but how effective it is, that is very, very important. And for that, we'll just watch this small video, okay, to understand about how communication is, can lead to somewhere which is actually not what we are intending.
Remember, actually, we can't hear the audio of video.
Kamali ma'am, can you share again? Stop and with the sound settings, please.
All right. So I do understand. Many of y'all may be wondering, there is no audio. Yes, the purpose of this video is to show you how a communication looks without a proper audio. So what do you think? Anyone who would like to share, like what is going on? What is happening? Anybody who would like to, go ahead and unmute the mic and just speak about, like, what do you think about this entire thing? There were expressions, there were gestures, but there was no sound.
I think we could just gauge by the body language whether the expressions connote an emotion of happiness or surprise or sadness or unstable idea, confusion. So you could make out that there was a variety of expressions coming on the screen, and you could also see that there's some kind of communication happening, and you can see that people are moving their heads to different directions to indicate that some form of communication is happening on either side.
Yeah, very true, Ms. Dhanishta, correct. You could see that, there are like, some powerful communication happening, something like, some expressions of happiness, some expression of like, oh, what's happening? And like a doubt. So yes, so you can see here, like, because I wanted to go back to our answers on the Mentimeter, because one of the answers, what we had got, uh, it says that it is sharing of thoughts or information in a verbal manner. So it's so just wanted to portray here that communication is not just verbal. It is not something that we speak. Yes, the voice adds a lot of meaning to it. However, if you see the actions, they do a lot of other things that are important. So if you like, like for an effective communication, both of these have to sync together well. You need to articulate your voice and your skills and your expressions and your modulations together to come into a to so that your idea is conveyed the way you want it to the person who is listening to you. So that's what is like, if you can see the slide, uh, just 1 minute. So the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So most of us all like, say, okay, fine, I have conveyed what I wanted to, but I don't know why this she didn't understand about. Oh, you know what? I did my best, but however, she was just not able to get what I wanted to convey. So here, what is happening is you are doing something which is according to you, you have done okay, you have gone ahead and told your things. But was it really conveyed? Was it conveyed in the same way that you wanted to? That is the biggest difference. So the goals of communication is first to inform. Inform what? inform what you really want to, like, what is your idea. Then persuade, like, give your idea and make sure that others are, like, into it. They are with you. They are able to understand and they are persuaded by your arguments. And next, and the most important, build relationships. An effective communicator can build much better relationships than a non-effective communicator. Even when, like, when we like right now, with the COVID era, where most of the communications were like online or through digital media, it was very important to convey the feelings of our communication along with the words. How are you keeping today? How are you keeping today? How are you keeping today? So if you see, every time when you ask the same question, but with a different tone or articulation, it has a different effect on your listeners. Just asking, how are you today? It's just like, oh, she's just doing a formality of just asking it. How are you today? Oh, wow, she really wants to know, how am I today? So this builds relation. It says that, okay, the relations are important. It makes you, all right, she values us. She wants us in our life. So whenever you are communicating, make sure you are actually putting some efforts, not only verbally, but also you are able to, like, establish a connection with the person you are trying to communicate. So let's move ahead. What's happening? Just give me a minute. It's just giving me a technical error. It's not allowing me to move ahead. Okay. All right. So as I already discussed this, that why effective communication is important and why you need to be smart enough to make sure that what you want to convey is conveyed exactly the same way you want it to. Just take 1 minute of your time and read through this statement. And then if you could share your ideas about it. Yes, any one of you who would like to, share your views on this? Well, I have a lot of people on the chat. So if you are not, okay, so you can also put your comments in the chat in case if you don't want to unmute it.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Myself, Neelam Parihar. And
Hi, Miss Neelam. How are you doing?
I'm great, ma'am, and it's a great day, great morning.
Fabulous.
Ma'am, I wanted to say that because the line says no two people are ever communicate perfectly. इससे मुझे ऐसा लगता है that some people talk more, some people talk less. बट कभी क्या होता है ना, जो ज्यादा बोलता है ना, तो वो ही कैन नॉट पोर्ट्रे हिमसेल्फ बेटर, बट जो कम बोलता है ही थिंक्स देन ही स्पीक, तो वो क्लियर कम्युनिकेशन वहां पे होता है अकॉर्डिंग टू मी. थैंक यू
All
मैम.
right, that's really nice. That's so great. Anybody else who would like to talk about this, or you can put it on the chat.
Hello, am I audible?
Hi.
Yeah, it's Pradeep Shukla. I just want to say that the last line itself saying the greater is our ability to trust. the 2 or 3 people are talking among themselves, and when they're having a conversation or a communication, if it is going to be more clear, crystal clear, the respondent or the person who is the receiver will get the idea very clearly. The communication takes place very smoothly there. There should be a clarity of expression with clarity of speech as well.
Yes, exactly. So if that's what, we cannot say that every time a communication is perfect. But however, if you are able to establish that connect with your listeners and build the trust that, okay, whatever you're conveying is something good or is something that is valuable, then you will have a better audience to listen to you. So that is the entire purpose. And thank you both of you for sharing your views and uh, highlighting some of the important aspects where even a person who doesn't like to speak more can effectively communicate using few words. But the person who or he or she is trying to communicate should be a person who is ready to trust. And the trust is only built when you have a good communication between both of you. So where the words don't matter, it is less or more, it doesn't matter. As sometimes it is said, less is more. And this is very effectively seen when, like a mother just sees the child and the child automatically knows what the mother wants to convey. Right? You must have, like, this is something which everybody has experienced. Sometimes, your bosses just look at you and okay, my boss wants this. And you are ready with it. The boss doesn't even have to open the mouth or say that, okay, come here. No, okay, he wants me or she wants me. So how is this possible? The only way it is possible is because of the trust and because of. So communication is not just, like, okay, I just speak to you and go. It is building up relations. It is building up something which is going to last much more than be just the small conversation. Okay, so let's. Okay, so now let's go about something called as quality of communication. Now, when I say quality, so as we already said, quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. So we already discussed sometimes less is more. That means it is the quality of the communication and not the quantity of the communication. So these are the basic channels, the frequent, what we use frequently are memos and letters, email, video, online discussions, voicemail. So these are something which we use frequently in our day-to-day lives. However, these are low in richness because with a memo or letter, I can just convey my words, but not the actual feeling behind those words. With a voicemail, I may just convey my voice, but not my expressions, not my gestures. All right. When it is an online discussion in a group, many a times most of us don't like sharing or putting ourselves on the cameras. We may, there are n number of reasons for it. But again, it qualifies as, your communication is not rich enough. It has low richness. Now, when you go into the other part, which are quite like video conferencing, like how we are doing right now, or a face-to-face conversation, or a live speech, or these qualify as high rich communication. Why? Because here you are able to see the communicator, you are able to understand. Maybe the actions will tell you, or maybe the articulations will be more effective, or maybe the sound or the modulations. So when you are communicating, it's very important, try to move your communication from low richness to high richness. Try to have a face-to-face conversation if you feel it is very, very important for you to be with the person or for you to gauge the person. Try to have a live speech rather than a written speech or, just reading things. Try to make it more live. Because, sometimes when you just write on a paper and read, Many a times you forget that you have to add your emotions to it. You just read because, okay, you want to finish that page of paper. So I personally guide my children or students that please don't use any papers for your presentations. You can use PowerPoints, which have, like elaborate like illustrations or pictures, but don't write your information and speak, because when you write your information and speak, many a time you're more engrossed into the paper rather than into the actual listeners. Anybody who wants to speak? I think there is somebody whose mic is not muted. Nobody? Okay. So,
ma'am, just a minute, we're just talking about so much about effectiveness of communication. And, I just, I'm trying to figure out, like, even to start off a communication, you can gauge the body language. That if the other person that whom you want to communicate with is even interested in communicating with you. So when you are standing next to a person, you can definitely gauge, like with the body language, that are they interested to communicate? So even before the verbal comes into picture, so much of body signs and expressions, and the way somebody might look onto you or you want to look onto you. Like for example, especially in an unknown setup, like a conference, or somewhere you are not familiar with people around you. You start off these ideas by just looking around and seeing if there is anybody that you can connect with. And then, probably maybe end of the seminar, you might be having a chance to talk to a few of them, just because that body has given you some kind of signs that they are ready to receive your communication.
very true, very true. And in the, like, as we go forward, I have taken this also, like one of the topics, that how much non-verbal communication is, like, plays a very important role, rather than, just even like a verbal communication. Like when we communicate verbally, or yes, the words are there, but as you said, sometimes even before, like, starting any verbal communication, you come to know whether the audience are really interested, whether they are here to hear you, whether they are here to listen and perceive your interest. So that, yes, this we will be taking ahead, like, when I go ahead in the slides, you will see that, okay, like how can you identify, there are a lot of signs that you can identify whether your listeners are really ready to listen to you or not. All right, so thanks for bringing up that point. Thank you very much. Okay, so seek first to understand, then to be understood. Very important. Most of the time, as a communicator, you just want to convey, okay, I want to convey this, blah, 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 blah. Finish. But where are the pauses? Where are the, like the option for a person to ask question? Where is it? So it's very important that you need to first understand how your audience is, what are their expectations from you, and then go ahead and make sure that they understand you. Okay. Now, like this is something which is very common. 80% of the work issues are communication related. And you can just, like, like you can have a self-reflection and just ask yourself, like, how many of your issues that you had recently in a week's time or a month's time could have been in a better position, or would be solved in a better position only if you would have gone ahead and taken that one step extra to explain the entire situation once again. I'm sure many of us sometimes just say, it's okay, leave it. Or we will check afterwards. Baad mein dekhte hai. This is very common, like, baad mein dekhte hai. So then that later on or baad mein dekhte hai keeps on adding. And finally results into something which is like could have been solved at a very early stages. Statistically, it is very, like, it is told that like 55% of our communication or of our issues are because of our body language. Sometimes you don't intend, but your body conveys a different message. You want to say yes, but from your body it is like no. Like for example, if like I can understand it's a Sunday morning, you want to sleep, we have branches, lot of things. But now there is a circular, okay, you have a communication skill class. So how many of us really, oh wow, we want to attend this? No, we don't want to do this. But then, okay, it's our body who says no, but we say, no, you are okay, fine. Attendance is there. I have this. Yes, fair enough. It is like that. And I apologize for this because I myself don't work on a holiday, but then because I am in UAE and you guys are in India, the time difference doesn't allow me to work on a work and connect with you on a working day. So that's the reason it took a Sunday. But I do understand. Yeah, so here this plays a very important role, the body language, the tone. You may say yes, okay, I will be there, or yes, I will be there. Get my point? So it makes a lot of difference when, okay, if it is like on a Sunday, oh yeah, I will be there. What do I want? What do you want me to get? Bread, salads, what? And if it is a meeting, oh yes, I will be there. But make sure it gets over. I have other commitments, after this, I have my kids. There are a lot of blah, 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 correct? So yes, so this is what is very important. I do understand, especially in the workspaces, and especially when you're dealing with children. Most of us are educators here. And when we deal with students, children, this plays a very, very important role. The students will connect to you if they feel that you are connected to them from your body, from your soul. Sometimes, some group of students will do anything for you. You say, get up, they will get up. You say, okay, do this, they will do this. Why? Because you have established that bond with them through your tone, through your affection, through your body language, and through your words. All three of them. And that's the reason why the student will do anything for you. Not because you are a teacher. No. That is a wrong notion. That because I am a teacher, my students will obey me. No, that was like, when we were kids. Now, no. The students will do for you things if they feel that they connect. That is what is the 21st century or the Gen Z, we call them Gen Z, is all about. Okay, so now coming to the important aspects. So we know like, okay, now effective communication is important, but we need articulation, some confidence, and empathy. So I would like you, anybody of you, to come ahead and tell me what is empathy. And if you can just scan the code, all right? If you could just scan the code. Okay. And you will see there is a second question. Can you see the second question on your screen? Is it visible? When you scan the code? Yes, do you see the second question on your screen? A thumbs up will do. If you can tell me non-verbally that you can see the second question. I'll share the link again. Okay, no? Okay, wait. The same link. Yeah. I'll share the link again. Please scan the code and you will be able to see the second question, which says correct articulation is very important. This is the question. Do you see this now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. So if you could just quickly participate. All right, so I can see one of the person says strongly disagree, partially agree, and we have 5 people who say strongly agree. So I'm waiting for others also to quickly participate so that we know like the question is correct articulation is very important in communication. I can see 16 saying strongly disagree. Disagree means you're not okay with it. You don't agree with it. Strongly agree, I can see 9 people who are like, okay, strongly agree. There are 12 who are partially agreeing to it. Okay, so let's move ahead. Let's look at what does, first thing, what is, so we'll come to the results once again if after discussing, and then let's see if you would like to change or add or, you know. So right now, what is an articulation? What do you mean by articulation? It is being to communicate your intended message or idea in a clear or concise manner. It is an ability to choose better words to express yourself more clearly. So for example, if I want to say, my name is Kaumudi. So this is what I want to introduce myself. Instead of this, can I say that, like, you know, hi, I am Kaumudi and I am from United Arab Emirates and I'm here as a trainer. Or I can just say, hi, I'm Kaumudi and I am a trainer. Or hi, I'm Kaumudi and I'll be training you today for communication skills. And I hope you will like the session. All these 3 or 4 ways I just did is introduce myself. But if you see in the last way where I talked about, okay, I am so and so, and I'm going to talk about communication skills today. So don't you think that last one is more that you can relate to rather than where I stay or what I do? Because that is something, an extra information for you, correct? But the one that I say that, okay, I'm going to train you today, catches your attention more. Again, articulation is more to do with, you know, like how we pronounce or talk about a word. It is more to do with sounds. It is more to do with, you know, like, you know, how we take in air or, you know, how we aspire. Like certain words, like if you just put your hand like this and say, "Puh," you can feel the air in your hand. When if you say "t," that is, you feel that your tongue is touching your palate. So it is more about putting correct tones, correct information in a clear and a concise manner. Okay, so in this simple statement, if you know, if you can agree to it, if words disagree with the tone of voice and non-verbal behavior, people tend to the tonality and non-verbal behavior. 1 minute. So what do you understand by this? What can you, like, you know, understand by this particular thing? What do you mean by this? What is this all about? Yes, my audiences. This question is for you.
I think this comedy at this point of time, it just reminds me of another old quote that we very often use. Um, Action speaks louder than words.
Exactly.
So this brings us back to, you know, the kind of actions. Even though I agree or disagree, there are chances that I might agree to you to my statements, but my body would give you another indication of the same.
So here, when we talk about articulation, the tone, articulation
Again.
generally means the tone,
Yeah.
the
And
tone
then,
of the voice.
and then again, for example, you can also gauge the level of affection, level of anger, level of sweetness, level of care, all by just changing the tone in which you talk.
Exactly. Yes, Ms. Dhanisha, you're like, you know, like this is so correct. Just by simply by, you know, like your voice or your tone, You can convey a lot, your anger, your frustration, your happiness, your sickness, and also like, how eager you are or how like reluctant you are. So all these can be just conveyed by the tone or the way you articulate. Now, what is confidence? This is something like, this is something which I really myself, I feel like, confidence is something that you show. How many of you agree? That is something that you show. You have to make an effort to show it. Or like, for some people, it is like spontaneous. So how do you say that? Is confidence something that you need an effort with, or it is something that comes effortlessly? I want some like, somebody from the I'm not being gender biased, but then I feel like the females are participating little more. So I want from the gentlemen, the audiences, the gentlemen, to come ahead and share their views about confidence.
It can be the both way. It depends upon the person to person. The person who is very much open will have a good level of confidence, and the person who is little bit narrow will have a little bit less level of confidence. So yes, exactly. Nobody is born with the confidence. It has been to develop day by day with the passage of time, with experiences. And when you talk about the communication and plus confidence, if somebody is very clear about the ideas, what that person wants to convey, they'll be having a good level of confidence.
Fantastic, Mr. Pradeep Shukla. Thank you for sharing your views. Yes, very true. Nobody is born with confidence. It eventually develops, and it develops with your interactions. For example, how many of us really remember the first day we went and stood in front of like on a stage where there were hundreds of people watching us? I remember when I did the first time, my thighs were shivering, my heart was like beating as fast. I don't know, I just felt like my heart will come on my mouth, into my mouth. So I'm sure nobody is born with confidence, but with regular interactions, with regular behavior exchanges, with regular mentoring, regular coaching, and the supports of your dear ones who give you that push, you build up confidence. You may be a very confident runner or a swimmer, but not a confident speaker. Or you may be a very confident speaker, but not a confident runner or a swimmer. So it is basically what you want to put, you want to build your confidence in, and it is basically how well you show your confidence with. I like watching the after cricket matches, the interviews of our captains. When I see the earlier interviews, whether it be Mr. Dhoni or whether it be Mr. Kapil Dev, when you see their older interviews, you will feel, oh, how are they speaking? Like, it's completely different. Look at the choice of their words. They're not very, quick with the responses, correct? But now, gradually, when you go ahead and watch their recent interviews, like Mr. Kapil Dev's interview when 83 was released, and the actual interview when 83 World Cup was played, very different, a very different. So from 83 to 2023, so much, you can say, change. How? It's just because the confidence developed. So being confident about your work is very important, because confidence is the framework of an effective oral communication. Like, for example, if I go in and I'm in the front of an interviewer and he asks me like, introduce yourself. And I just say, my name is Kaumudi, and I am working as a teacher from 5 years, and I have taught, and at the same time I go in, hi, how are you? And I'm Kaumudi, and I have been working for last 5 years with UAE as a teacher and as a science trainer. Don't you think it makes a lot of difference? And don't you think it makes the, if I'm doing that and like little nervous with my hands, the person sitting in front of me can gauge, okay, she is nervous, she is not good with the choice of her words, and there are 10 other people who are there behind me. So the impact which I will leave will be much lesser then the impact where about the others. We cannot comment, but at the same time, we can only comment on our confidence. We can comment on ourselves. We don't know what the second person is going to do. Like, it's like before predicting, there are a lot of predictions. Today, India will win the match. But wait, there is still a lot to the match. We don't know what's going to happen in the second half or the first half. So it's like, but we know how good we will go, and whether we'll bat on the front foot or we will take a back foot. That is what we know. So that's how confidence plays an important role. So although we all are not born with it, but we can develop it. Coming to empathy. What is empathy? First, what is empathy? Why empathy is important? If anybody can tell me what is empathy, this is something very important to understand empathy.
Empathy for me, it's like you need to understand the front person. You have to keep yourself in the position of the front person and to understand. That's what empathy I feel.
Yes, perfect. Like empathy is something when you put yourself in, like the situation where what others are in. In simple words, is always said, the parents always, when I was a kid, I was a little mischievous kid. So my mother used to always say, when you get your daughter, you will understand what I am going through. And yes, it really does. It really does make sense. Now, when I'm a mother and when I see my daughter, I really understand what she was going through. So yes, empathy is putting yourself in the similar situation where you have the other person. But many a times, there is a conflict between empathizing and sympathizing. There is a very thin line between empathizing and sympathizing. When I say sympathy is showing your in like something like your condolences or something, showing off like, okay, you feel for the person, but at the same time you are not in the exact situation. Like, for example, oh, your paper was not good. Oh, mine was very big, nice. I can get full marks. Oh, but I can understand it's very difficult for you to score. Don't worry, maybe next time. So here I'm sympathizing with the person. Does he need my sympathy here? No, he doesn't need my sympathy. He knows he's going to fail. He knows he's not done good in his papers. Here he wants somebody to empathize. So a better way of telling the same thing would have been, oh, no worries. You know what? Sometimes you feel that you have not done good, but the examiner may give you marks for your thoughts. So just wait for the results, and I'm sure there will be something good for you. So here I am not giving him a false hope. I'm just telling him that, okay, just wait. Don't make your judgments too early. Don't have prejudices. Maybe you felt your paper is for the keywords. It's there in your paper. Because many a times we expect way more from ourselves than an examiner or a person standing in front or your bosses expect. Because that is our expectations from ourselves. For an effective communication, empathy is very, very important. If you are listening to a person, listen to listen. Don't listen to respond. This is something which we always, after listening, we want to give our comments. But sometimes the person doesn't need any comments. He just needs a hearing ear. Someone to hear the problem, someone to comfort, and someone to empathize. They don't want solutions. They just want a listening ear. So it's very important. Yes, somebody wants to speak. I can hear, please go ahead. Okay, I think it's okay. All right. So empathy, when I talk about empathy in simple words, as sir explained very well, that it is you put yourself into somebody's position. You are, you feel that you're fully present, you're listening consciously, and you're hearing deeply. Now, when I say empathy, again, it is like two types. It's cognitive and emotional empathy. When I say cognitive, as you know, cognitive skills related to our brains, thinking, it is like being aware of the emotional state of the other person. You know what are the emotions. Sometimes, like somebody comes to you, just throw the file, do this right now. You may be thinking, what's wrong with this person? But if you know that person, okay, you have this cognitive empathy, okay, maybe he's having a bad day. Or maybe some, like, he's showing, like, he's overworked. And the things will be much better. Or else, if you just feel, why is he coming and banging my desk like this with the files? Again, this will really get ahead into a conflict. But if you have a cognitive empathy, your brain will stimulate those thoughts and maybe he's just having a bad day. Forget it. Let's complete this work and finish it off. So that is how you are being aware of the emotional state of the other person. Meeting people where they are and seeing things from their perspective. Like, for example, if you are on the, like many a times, this is something which my children come up. There's so much homework. Then the teachers, because I train the teachers also, the teachers come up. There's no time. When we will finish the syllabus. So from the children's perspective, I understand teachers are giving homework so that they are using it as a flip class. Students can go home, do the things. Maybe in the class they did 2 sums. They want them to go home, do 5 sums. From the teacher's perspective, I understand they're doing it. Why? Because they have a stipulated time. And in this given time, they need to finish so much of work. So because I have this cognitive empathy, I'm able to connect. If I'm not having this cognitive empathy, what would happen? I will tell my teachers, oh, what are you doing? Can't you make your backward planning from the start of the year? Don't you know that this term has only 2 months and you need to finish your syllabus in this? At the same time, for the students, homework is something that you have to do. It is something that it is mandatory. How good will it affect both my audiences? Do you think both my audiences will be happy? Do you think it will make any sense? I don't think so. Both my audiences will be like, why this lady is speaking like this? Correct? Next is emotional empathy. When I say emotional empathy, this is more difficult than to understand cognitive empathy, because it is, like to understand the emotions that a person is going through. It is like emotional experiences. It is this, when especially as an educator, if you are a teacher or if you aspire to be a future teacher, we call it as, a background check of our students. To be emotionally connected, we need to know where they are coming from. What are their, like you can say, what are the things they are not capable of doing it? Or what are the cultural barriers? Or what are the linguistic barriers they're coming from? Because you cannot speak in English to a person who doesn't understand English. Or a person who doesn't understand, you cannot speak Hindi to a person who doesn't understand Hindi. So this something is very important, that is having an emotional empathy. If you see the next point, helping others when they are in pain and distress. Again, you need to understand how much do you have to involve in it. Because we are talking about communication. Sometimes we get carried away. Like if somebody says, like I'm missing my father or I'm missing my mother, and you start your stories. You know what? When I was young, I also went there. My mother had this. So are you connecting with him? Are you actually? No. You're just using his situation to enhance your situation. So instead of sharing the pain, you're giving the pain. So you need to understand emotional empathy much, much better in your communication. So when you are trying to put forward your ideas, again, I would come back to what I started with. Communicate or listen for listening, not for, giving your ideas or talking. So your empathy plays a very, very important role. I'm sure you must have by now clear with communication, talking, empathy, sympathy, confidence. So now we go to an important aspect. The next part of our communication is listening. How you want to talk, same way you need to listen. It's very important, because if you don't listen, you will not be able to convey your thoughts in the manner the opposite person wants to hear it. So if you look at this, when I say listening, so just, it is more than just hearing someone speak. It is not that, okay, you're just hearing, okay, come on. It's not like a music. You fully concentrate on what is being said. And when you listen, and you listen with all your senses. When I say all your senses, it means your ears, your eyes, your nose, all your senses. And you will say, Miss, why we just need ears and eyes? Why nose? Why the other things? But no, when I say an active listener has to use all 5 senses. Why? It depends upon the context of your communication, where it is happening, when it is happening, how it is happening, and what led to the communication. So you need to be, for an active listening, all your 5 senses needs to be there with you. It should not happen that you're physically here listening. Many a times in the classrooms, hi, teachers have to say, hi, get up, wake up, please don't sleep. You're physically here. Where are you mentally? Yes, it happens. And it happens. Why it happens? Is because many a times certain things connect to the old memory which is there in our subconscious brain. And while listening, you suddenly go back to your days when I was a child, and so and so and so. So are you an active listener at this time? No. Why? Because you were listening, but now your thoughts have gone to your subconscious mind. They have gone somewhere else, and you have lost what you were listening to. Okay. So just take 1 minute of your time. I don't want to discuss this. This is something you need to know. Take 1 minute of your time. Go through these 6 active listening and introspect yourself. How many of you really follow these? Think about a recent conversation you had with your child or your husband or with your bosses, and think how many of you, because this is something which is very difficult. Avoid seeming judgments, because you know your boss, her nature is like this. So before she even comes to you, you know, oh, she's going to bombard me. So how many of you all actually showed your interest? There is a new thing coming up. Oh, I want to take it. Oh, let it be. Extra kaam aa jayega. Right? Okay. So as I'm sure you have reflected, so these are some tips which can help you to become an active listener. I wanted to ask you, what is ambiguity? If anybody can explain me ambiguity. What do you mean by ambiguity? This is the 4th point here. Seek further information to clarify ambiguity.
I think preferably, according to me, it might be something that you're not very clear about, something like vague, absolutely abstract, not able to be defined or something.
Very like you are correct. It is something that doesn't have a perfect. Yes, ma'am.
Ambiguity means confusion.
Yes, a confused state of mind. Yes, that is also correct. I would like to give you an example. Many a times because most of your educator, I'm taking examples from education itself. So many a time you correct some answers for your students, and when you give them the answer papers, some of them will say, Miss, why did you give me wrong here? You will say, because you didn't write this. The other girl comes up, Miss, I wrote this. See, but still you gave me only half mark. Why? Now the why comes because of something called as ambiguity. There is no rubric. There is no criterion set. There is no planning. So if, for example, you wrote what is atmosphere, somebody wrote an envelope of air, you gave it right. Somebody wrote atmosphere is the gases that surrounds the earth, you wrote it right. Somebody wrote that, okay, atmosphere are the gases like carbon dioxide, this blah, 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 which are consisting our environment, you gave it right. But what are the actual things you are looking for? Don't you think this is an ambiguous, like the child, from a child's perspective, he doesn't know what my teacher is looking for. You gave a half mark, you gave a 1 mark, you gave a 2 mark. Why? So there is a confusion, right? So when you are communicating with anybody, whether it be a small child, to an elder, to your bosses, to your friends, to your colleagues, if you feel that something is confusing, something that you didn't understand, please seek information. Don't get scared of asking. More you ask, more you are, clear about the things. Less you talk, less things you will know. All right. So please remember this. And the last one is, please remember to pause. As I said, it's very important. Take pauses. When you take pauses, you give an opportunity for your brain to think. At the same time, you give an opportunity for your listeners to speak. So always take pause. Always make sure that you give an opportunity for your listeners to come forward and respond. So this is my favorite of all the quotes. This is one of my favorite quotes. So you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should listen more than we say. How many of you disagree with this? Is there anybody who disagrees with this? It's not, like, for them, it is not okay. Everybody okay? Thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up. So we are showing our non-verbal gesture. Yes. All right. Fantastic. Last part, I do understand. Like, we'll just quickly. Okay, how many of y'all felt were these, like, you just saw a small clip. How many of y'all felt that these non-verbal communications were appropriately used? You can just say a yes, I felt, in the chat. I'm checking the chat on the other side of my laptop. Okay, yes, I can see a lot of yeses coming in. Okay, all right. So if you see this gentleman here, I'm just going back to the slide behind. If you see this gentleman here, if you see this, and from the expression, he's surprised, correct? If you see this gentleman here, you can see that this gentleman is smiling, is happy to assist, is asking questions, correct? Yes. And I can see that somebody, emoji meaning a hand held up showing its palm may be used to mean stop or an high five. Yes, so if you see that way, I just, if you have an emoji just to show a palm or a hand, it means to stop or to like something, correct? And here, if you see, if he wants to say stop, like, let me understand, correct? So now, all these we already discussed. And one of you had, also said that these play more important than just, like speaking words. So now let's look at how to improve our non-verbals. How can we as a person improve what we want to convey? So look at people watching, who are watching you, who are your audiences. Be aware of individual differences. Remember this, no two people are same. Maybe you are a person who like to use a lot of hand movements and expressions and talk, whereas somebody said that some people use very little words and they use very little movements of hand. So this is very important. Be aware of your individual differences. Look at non-verbal signs as whole. Don't judge a person. Don't be specific. When you are talking and communicating, make sure that you look at as a whole, not something, okay, few people, like, I just concentrate on my 1, 2, 3. No, look at as a whole, like how was the whole session. So let's look, these are some of the, expressions. When you cross your arms like this, fold your hands, generally it's signs that you don't want to move ahead with the session. You don't have any, you're resistant to any new ideas. Real smiles will have a shine in your eyes. So when you just smile like this, or you really smile, your eyes will say that before you even convey. Copying your body language is a good thing. So if you know, many people, they like to sit like this in the boardroom. They always are like this. This is a very strategic pose. Okay, they're thinking. So if you know that, okay, a particular body language is a good sign, and if you're copying, there is nothing wrong in it. You're adopting something which is good. Posture tells the story. It's very important in a class if you're sitting leaning back like this, or if you're just sitting like this, or you're scrowning down. It does tell a lot. It does tell a lot. Eyes that lie. This is my personal favorite. Sometimes, really, it happens. You are not very interested in the session, but make sure that your eyes don't convey it. Make sure that although you may not be very interested, don't let it show on your face. But because these are some of the signs that tell that, okay, your listeners are not ready to listen, or they are not happy with it. Raised eyebrows is a sign of discomfort. Exaggerated nodding is again something which is not a good idea. Clenched jaw signals stress. So when you are like this, you are it expressed that, okay, there is something which is not. And this is not something which I made up. This is through the studies. Okay, it is something which has come from a research and something that is proven worldwide. So it's not just a simple thing, but yes, these 8 actions talk a lot non-verbally about your verbal communication. So please, whenever you are in an interactive seminar, or in a classroom, or in your social settings, make sure you take the right non-verbal sign. So now, just to leave you with this thought, that when you communicate with others, the way they want to be communicated with, it's not that what you want to, it's what they want to. So now, I know I already 10 minutes more, and this is the last thing. If you could quickly scan the code, there's a Padlet, and you can put your feedback. And if there are any questions, so I'm happy to take all your questions. So we'll just keep this Padlet open. At the same time, we can keep the questions also open. So I'll share the link with you in the chat. Just give me a minute. So all of you who are on the chat can use this link from the chat. So you can see the link in the chat. Is the link visible? Yeah, thumbs up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I'll quickly open the Padlet to see if you have your, so please share your views about today's session. What would you like to learn? And if you want to add a new comment, there is a plus sign here. You can, it's like you can just put a, add a separate box as well. Thank you. I would appreciate if you can write your name as well, because it comes as an anonymous. So it would be great if you can just write your names so that I know whom am I communicating with. It's very, like, this is something very important. Whenever you communicate, please communicate with your name. Personalization makes it more effective. Your listeners will be able to connect to you more nicely because they know whom they are connecting. One more thing, what I noticed here, whenever you're communicating, try to use only one language. So if you are comfortable with Hindi, use Hindi. If French, use French. If English, use English. When using of dual language, again, hampers your confidence. It shows that, okay, she's not confident in this language, shows she moved to another language. So when you are communicating, whatever is your perfect skilled language, please use that so that you will be more, your speech will be more confident. You can just write your name when you put the, when you put it, you can just write your name first and then, okay, thank you, Miss Neelam Parihar. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm waiting for the questions also. If you have any questions. Thank you, Ms. Rekha. I'm glad that you were able to connect and, you were able to understand that how body language is important. Thank you, Ms. Aarti. I would also take this opportunity once again to thank the entire staff and management of Rahul College of Education, and also Ms. Sanjana Mishra, the IC principal, and the conveyor, Ms. Alka Jain. Thank you very much for coordinating with me since yesterday and, setting this event. I would also like to thank Mr. Utsav, the new, I think that he's the new CEO of our education trust, Rahul Education College, for starting this alumni. It is a great, great initiative. And I'm sure there is so much of talent in our, and that can be helped. And that can be, like we can take this ahead and make it more successful by creating such events in future, so that, we can have more of what we say, connections and building up a good future relations with all the alumni as well as the upcoming alumni. So thank you very much, all of you, for this wonderful session. And I must say that great participation. I must say that, it was very interactive. It was very nice. And I can see the amount of comments. I can see that so many of you all were really, really active and, being with me and trying to understand what I really wanted to communicate with you all. Yes, ma'am. I can see Ms. Streamer hand is up. Please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really awesome. We have learned so many things, like we have understood the stress intonation pattern, how to understand communication with the body language, and it was really helpful for us. Thank you for us giving us such a wonderful views about communication on a Sunday special. Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
wonderful
much.
day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dreamer. I like the way you stressed on the word Sunday. It was very nice. It was really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Dreamer.
Okay, thank you so much, Kamudi ma'am, for giving us the valuable time to conduct this session for all the participants. Yeah, really, this session was very interactive also and interesting also for all of us, that we can understand the basic rules of communication. So I really appreciate for giving your time to us. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure, Ms. Alka. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you for being there and, allowing me and giving me this opportunity to interact with such wonderful people. Thank you very much. So I hope you all will have a nice nice Sunday evenings and afternoon. Thank you. So saying this, Miss, I'll take your leave then. Is that all right?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, the session is about to over. I must say thank you to all of you who has joined the session, and thank you our speaker also, and would like to thank all of us.
Thank you.
Participants, your attention, please. Do not forget to fill in the forms. The forms have been already circulated on the chat. Please remember to fill it in so that you can avail your certificates. All right. Have a great Sunday evening, everybody, and good afternoon as well. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.